The stars shone cold and distant in the black sky. The enemy fleet gathered in a large formation, ships shining with strange symbols and sharp edges. They were proud and strong, sure of their power. They saw a small group of ships ahead, tiny and slow. "Look at that small fleet." The enemy captain laughed. "Those humans must be fools. They bring only a few ships to fight against us." What a joke. His officers chuckled too. The enemy was used to winning easily. They had fought many wars, crushed many planets, and never met anyone like these humans. The human ships looked small and weak. Some enemy soldiers shouted insults through their radios. They said, "They cannot fight. They will run away fast." But the humans did not speak much. Their fleet moved quietly and calmly. The small ships flew in perfect formation. Commander Harris stood on the bridge of the lead human ship. He looked at the enemy fleet through the large window. His face was calm but determined. "They think we are weak," he said softly, "but they do not know what we can do." His crew worked quickly, preparing weapons and shields. The humans had trained for this moment for years. Suddenly, the enemy fleet started moving faster, ready to attack. They believed the fight would be easy and fast. The humans waited patiently. Then, without warning, they launched a small ship ahead. It flew fast and straight into the enemy line. The enemy was surprised. Their big ships tried to catch the small one, but it was too fast. The small ship fired a strange weapon that made one enemy ship stop moving. "Impossible!" the enemy captain shouted. "How can their small ship do this?" The humans smiled, quietly. Their plan was working. The battle had just begun. The sky was still dark when the humans' small fleet moved quietly through the cold space. The enemy ships were not far behind. They were angry and confused after the sudden attack. The enemy had thought the humans were weak, but now they knew they were wrong. Commander Harris stood on the bridge of the lead ship, watching the stars pass by. His face was calm, but inside, he was ready for anything. He knew this battle was not just about ships or weapons. It was about courage and hope. The human ships were not the biggest or the strongest. They were smaller than many enemy ships, and their weapons looked simple. But the humans had something the enemy did not. Understand careful planning and teamwork. Captain Harrison said Lieutenant Sarah, pointing at the screen. "The enemy fleet is moving closer. They are trying to surround us." Harris nodded. "Good. Let them come. We are ready." The enemy ships formed a wide circle, trying to trap the humans inside. They believed their numbers would win the fight. But the humans stayed calm. They moved together like one body, small ships protecting the bigger ones, the bigger ships covering the smaller ones. Every move was careful, every decision quick. Suddenly, one human ship moved faster than the others. It flew straight into the enemy's line, acting like a fast runner in a race. The enemy tried to catch it, but the ship was too quick. It sent out a bright light, a signal to the other human ships. The enemy was confused. Their large ships could not catch the small fast one. They did not understand why the humans were so calm and strong. "Why are they so brave?" asked one enemy soldier. "They must have a secret," said another. Inside the human fleet, the crew worked together like a family. Each person knew their role and they trusted each other. They shared information quickly and helped one another without fear. "We have to keep moving," said Harris. "If we stop, they will close in on us." The humans began to change their formation, moving in strange patterns. The enemy ships followed, but they lost their order. They tried to attack, but the humans always found a way to avoid the hit. Time passed slowly, but the battle was growing. Both sides wanted to win, but only one would leave the field first. Then something unexpected happened. One of the human ships sent a message to the enemy fleet. It was strange and confusing. The enemy captain looked at the message. It was not a threat or a demand. It was an offer. "Do you want to stop this fight?" the message said. "We do not want more war." The enemy was silent. No one expected this. Most thought the humans would fight until the end. "Is this a trick?" one enemy officer asked. "Maybe," said the captain. But deep inside, He wondered if it was real. The humans waited. They knew the enemy was unsure. They wanted peace, but they were ready for battle if needed. Suddenly, the enemy fleet changed. Their ships moved back slowly, leaving space between them and the humans. The tension was high, but no shots were fired. Harris looked at his crew. "This is our chance. We must show them we want peace, but we will protect ourselves." The humans sent another message, this time clearer and stronger. They spoke about respect and friendship, about how different beings could live without fighting. The enemy captain read the message carefully. He saw no lies or tricks. The humans wanted to end the war, but they were not weak. They were strong in their will and in their unity. The enemy slowly lowered their weapons. The small human fleet had shown a power the enemy never expected. Not power of force, but power of courage and hope. The stars continued to shine as the two fleets drifted apart. Both sides knew this battle was only the start of something bigger. The humans had surprised the galaxy, and their story was just beginning. The space around the human fleet felt quiet, but beneath that calm was a growing tension. The enemy had stepped back, but their eyes watched every move closely. "Commander." Harris knew this peace could break at any moment. He understood the importance of what came next. The humans had shown strength not by fighting harder, but by standing firm with respect and calm. Now they needed to show why they could not be ignored or defeated. Harris gathered his officers in the small briefing room. "We have one chance to change how the galaxy sees us," he said. "We need to show our true strength. Not just our ships, but what it means to be human." Lieutenant Sarah nodded. "What do you want us to do, sir?" Harris smiled slightly. "We use our creativity. Our fleet will not fight like others. We will surprise them again, but this time with more than just weapons." Outside, the small human ships began to move in new patterns. They flew close together, weaving through the stars like dancers. Their movement was not just for battle, it was a message. The enemy ships watched, confused. What was this strange dance? It was beautiful, but also showed control and skill. The humans moved as one, showing their unity. Suddenly, a light show began. The humans released bright colors from their ships, painting the dark space with shining blues, reds, and greens. It was not a weapon, but an art, something the enemy had never seen in war before. The enemy captain whispered, "What is this? Are they mocking us?" "No," said his second-in-command. "They are showing us something we have lost. Strength is not only in fighting, it is also in hope and unity." The humans' display went on for minutes. The enemy ships stopped their attacks. Slowly, they lowered their weapons again, watching silently. Commander Harris used this moment to send a new message across all channels. "We are humans. We are not just fighters. We are creators, thinkers, and friends. We want peace, but we will protect what is ours." The message reached many enemy ships. Some soldiers whispered among themselves. They wondered if this was the way forward, to find new ways to live, not just fight, but not all were ready to accept this. Some enemy leaders felt fear. They feared losing control, losing power if they accepted peace. They wanted to test the humans again, to see if their words were true. Without warning, one of the enemy ships broke away from the group and moved quickly toward the humans. It was not an attack, but a close approach. The humans watched carefully. The enemy ship sent a small craft toward the human fleet. It carried a single figure. The humans prepared to receive this visitor with respect, ready for either peace or danger. When the small craft docked, the figure stepped out. It was an enemy, diplomat, a voice of reason among his people. He spoke clearly. "I have come to learn. We need to understand you better." Commander Harris met him with calm eyes. "We welcome you. Understanding is the first step to peace." The diplomat looked around the human ship, amazed by the calm and order. He realized these humans were different from the enemies his people had faced before. Days passed with talks between humans and the enemy diplomat. They shared stories, hopes, and fears. Slowly, the walls of hate began to fall. But the galaxy was not quiet. News of this meeting spread fast. Some enemies were angry, calling humans tricksters. Others hoped for change. Harris knew this was only the beginning. The real test would be if they could turn enemies into friends, and if peace could last longer than a moment. The small human fleet had changed the rules. They showed that strength was more than just power. It was in heart and mind. The stars above continued to shine, carrying the hope of a new future. The silence after the talks was heavy and full of questions. The enemy fleet hovered near the humans, waiting and watching. Many were unsure what to do next. Some wanted to fight again. Others wanted peace but did not know how to trust. Commander Harris knew the moment was fragile. The future of many depended on what happened now. The humans had shown kindness and strength, but the enemy was still cautious. One night, as the stars twinkled softly outside, Harris stood on the deck of his ship looking out at the distant enemy ships. He thought about the long journey that had brought them here, the battles, the dances, and the talks. Suddenly, his communicator beeped. Lieutenant Sarah's voice was clear but tense. "Captain, sensors show a large fleet moving closer. They are not part of the group we have been talking to." Harris's heart tightened. New ships meant new danger. "How many?" he asked. "Too many to count. They are coming fast." The calm moment was over. The humans prepared quickly. Every crew member took their place, working as one. But this time Harris knew they had something more powerful than weapons: experience and hope. The enemy fleet arrived, larger and more aggressive. They came with fast ships and bright lights, trying to scare the humans. But the humans held their ground. The battle began, but it was different this time. The humans did not rush forward. Instead, they used their smart plans. They moved like shadows, avoiding attacks and guiding the enemy into places where the humans had the advantage. The enemy ships found themselves confused. The humans' small size and quick movements made them hard to catch. It was like trying to catch a bird in a storm. Commander Harris watched carefully. He saw one human ship in trouble, surrounded by many enemy vessels. The crew worked quickly to protect it, showing great teamwork. "Hold steady," Harris said calmly. "We will not lose anyone." Nearby, Lieutenant Sarah led a group of small ships to help. They worked perfectly together, blocking enemy fire and helping their friend escape danger. The enemy was frustrated. They had numbers, but the humans had unity and courage. Slowly, the larger fleet began to lose its confidence. Then, Harris saw an opportunity. A gap appeared in the enemy's formation. He gave the order. The humans moved forward quickly, but carefully. They did not attack hard. Instead, they used bright signals and movements to confuse the enemy even more. It was like a puzzle that the enemy could not solve. The enemy fleet slowed. Some ships started to pull back. It was clear they were tired and unsure. In the quiet that followed, Harris sent a message across the stars. "We do not want endless war. We want to find a way to live in peace, but we will protect our own." The message spread. Some enemy ships stopped their engines, signaling they wanted to talk. Harris breathed deeply. This was the moment he had hoped for. The enemy leader sent a small ship to meet the humans again. The new meeting was full of tension but also hope. Both sides spoke honestly, sharing fears and dreams. The humans told stories of their past, of hardship and strength, of learning to work together. The enemy listened, surprised by the humans' kindness and patience. The talks lasted for many days. Slowly, a new understanding grew. The enemy saw that the humans were not just fighters, but friends waiting to be made. But peace was still new and fragile. Harris knew the road ahead would be long. There would be challenges and moments of doubt. Yet as the stars shone bright, a small fleet of humans and once enemies moved side by side. The galaxy was changing. The calm that followed the talks was not peaceful for long. Far beyond the meeting place, new ships appeared on the horizon. These were not the same ships that had paused to talk. They were unknown and mysterious, moving fast with a silent warning in their path. Commander Harris stood on the bridge, feeling the weight of the moment. His calm face hid the storm inside. He knew the galaxy was watching. This was not just a Battle of ships, but a test of what humans truly were. The new fleet moved closer, their shapes strange and unfamiliar. Their lights flickered in patterns that no one had seen before. The enemy ships that had come to peace looked worried. They whispered in their own language, unsure if these new arrivals were friends or foes. Harris looked to his crew, his voice steady. Prepare for contact, we do not know their intentions. The human ships shifted into a defensive formation, but Harris hoped it would not come to fighting. A small craft broke away from the new fleet and moved toward the humans. The craft was different from any other ship seen before, smooth, almost alive in its design. It docked carefully with the human lid ship. Out stepped a figure wrapped in light fabric that shimmered softly. The figure's eyes were kind but curious. They introduced themselves not with words but with a series of images and sounds projected into the ship's communication system. The humans watched, fascinated and cautious. The images told a story of a people from a distant part of the galaxy, traveling far to find others like themselves. They spoke of loneliness and hope, of a desire to learn and share rather than fight. Harris felt a new feeling growing inside him. This was not the enemy. This was a chance to build something new from the pieces of war and fear. The visitors explained their technology, their knowledge of stars and life. They offered gifts, new ideas and tools to help heal planets and grow strong communities. The humans shared their own stories, of Earth, of hard work and survival, of learning to trust and work together. The talks between the humans and the new visitors grew deeper, full of questions and answers. Both sides learned from each other, discovering that even though they came from different worlds, they shared many dreams. But not everyone was happy. Some from the enemy fleet saw these new visitors as a threat. They warned Harris that trusting too much could be dangerous. Harris listened but stood firm. We cannot live in fear of what might happen. We must choose hope and friendship, even when it is hard. Days passed and the new visitors stayed. They helped humans and former enemies alike to understand more about the universe and each other. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if the galaxy itself was watching and waiting for what would come next. Harris knew the path ahead was still full of unknowns, but he believed in the strength of the small human fleet and the power of hope. Together, they would face the future, no matter what it held. The stars were brighter than usual, casting a soft glow over the human fleet as it moved steadily through the vastness of space. Commander Harris stood silently on the bridge, watching the endless stretch of darkness dotted with shimmering lights. The journey had been long and difficult, filled with moments of doubt and hope, but now something new was growing. A future that once seemed impossible. The small human fleet was no longer just a group of ships. It had become a symbol of courage, unity, and the will to seek peace in a galaxy that had known only war for so long. Harris knew that their story was being watched by many, and what they did next would shape the destiny of countless worlds. Suddenly, the calm was broken by a soft beep from the communication console. Lieutenant Sarah's voice came through, steady but full of excitement. Captain, we are receiving a message from multiple systems across the galaxy. They want to join us. They want peace. Harris felt a warmth in his chest. After all the battles and talks, the message was clear. Hope was spreading. The galaxy was ready for change. But change is never easy. As the fleet prepared to welcome new allies, there were still questions and fears. How could different beings with different pasts and pain come together? How could they trust each other after so much hurt? Harris gathered his officers once again. We have made the first step. Now, the real work begins. We must build a future where all can live without fear, where strength is found not in weapons, but in unity and understanding. The crew worked tirelessly, opening channels of communication to new worlds, sharing knowledge and helping those in need. The small fleet grew as ships from many different species joined, bringing with them new ideas and hopes. But not everyone welcomed this change. Some leaders, still tied to old ways, tried to stop the growing peace. They spread fear and doubt, warning that trust would only lead to betrayal. Harris knew these voices could not be ignored. He faced them openly, using words instead of weapons. Fear divides us, but hope brings us together. We must listen, learn, and show that peace is stronger than hate. One day, a large gathering was held on a neutral space station. Leaders and representatives from many worlds came together to talk openly for the first time in centuries. The talks were long and sometimes difficult. Old wounds were opened, but slowly, with patience and respect, understanding grew. Agreements were made, not just for peace but for cooperation in science, trade, and culture. The small human fleet watched with pride as their efforts helped build a new galactic community, one where differences were respected and strength was measured by kindness and courage. As the meeting ended, Harris stood by the window looking out at the stars once more. The future was still uncertain, but now it was full of promise. The humans had faced laughter and doubt, but they had shown the galaxy that even a small fleet, guided by hope and unity, could change everything. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, peace was not just a dream, it was becoming real.